Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the show that cuts through all the financial noise to get you, well, truly well-informed. Today, we're kind of challenging some common ideas about money, about what real financial success even looks like. We're taking a deep dive into Dave Ramsey's incredibly popular The Total Money Makeover. It's a book that's really shifted the financial lives of millions. Our mission here, for you, is to give you a genuine shortcut. We've sifted through his core philosophy, pulled from his 100 essential lessons, to extract the most important nuggets and, honestly, some surprising insights. Think of it as getting that essential wisdom fast, so you can really understand Ramsey's approach and maybe why it resonates so deeply with so many people out there.
And it really is a needed deep dive because Ramsey's philosophy, it isn't just another financial plan, not at all. It's often like a direct counter-narrative to so much of what we're usually taught about money and debt and building wealth. He asks us to look at personal finance through a very different lens. It's one that puts personal responsibility and, crucially, behavioral change right at the very forefront.
Okay, so let's unpack this foundational idea he kicks off with. It really sets the tone for everything else, doesn't it? Ramsey states, flat out, that financial success is 80% behavior and just 20% head knowledge. That's a huge shift, right? Away from complex spreadsheets or trying to predict the market. It puts the emphasis squarely on consistent action and discipline, on what you do with your money day to day.
It's profound, really, because it immediately tells us that the biggest obstacle to your financial health isn't some external force like the economy or an unexpected bill. Often the biggest obstacle is you, your habits, your choices, your mindset. And Ramsey is pretty unapologetic about this. He argues that blaming external factors, it's just unproductive. True financial transformation, he says, begins with self-awareness, personal accountability, and crucially, a willingness to confront your own habits. If you don't acknowledge your role in the situation, well, you simply can't take control. It's as simple as that.
And taking control. For Ramsey, central to that is his incredibly strong stance on debt. He calls it a trap, dumb money, designed purely to enrich lenders, not you.
And this next point often catches people off guard because he's not just talking about what we typically call bad debt, like, say, credit cards. He means all debt, every single bit of it.
Exactly. And that core belief leads him to directly challenge some really ingrained money myths, like that pervasive idea that, debt is necessary to get ahead financially. He argues that your financial choices are actually a direct reflection of your character, your discipline. So to truly change things, you have to face your financial reality honestly. Acknowledge where you are right now, and then commit. Commit to continuous improvement. It's definitely a journey, not some magic bullet fix.
So, okay, with that behavioral groundwork laid, let's talk about the practical cornerstone of his plan, the Debt Snowball Method. The idea is wonderfully simple on the surface.
Yeah.
You list all your debts, everything you owe, from the smallest balance up to the largest. Then you make only the minimum payment on all of them, except for the very smallest one. And you throw every single extra dollar you can find at that smallest debt until it's completely gone. Poof.
Now, this next point, this is where people who love spreadsheets sometimes raise an eyebrow. Ramsey's Debt Snowball intentionally tells you to ignore the interest rates.
Which seems counterintuitive, right? Mathematically inefficient.
On paper, yes. But the real genius here, the deep insight, is his understanding of human psychology. It's behavioral finance in action. It's not about mathematical perfection. It's about building unstoppable emotional momentum. See, when you pay off that first tiny debt, maybe it's only a few $100s, that win feels amazing. It becomes addictive. And that feeling is far more motivating for most people than watching a higher interest balance slowly tick down. So yeah, it prioritizes motivation and consistency over pure math. And for most folks, that's the key to actually sticking with the plan long enough to see results.
Okay, but before you even jump into that debt snowball, Ramsey insists on a crucial first step. Establishing a $1,000 emergency fund. This isn't the big one, not yet, but it's a vital, quick buffer. The whole idea is to prevent those unexpected expenses, a flat tire, a leaky pipe, a quick doctor's visit, from completely derailing your debt payoff plan, so you don't get knocked off track and pushed right back into borrowing more money.
Exactly. That initial $1,000 fund immediately highlights the importance of building cash reserves for life's little curveballs instead of just reflexively reaching for a credit card again. Once that buffer is in place, then the goal is to attack your debt with what he calls gazelle intensity.
Gazelle intensity, like running from a lion.
Precisely. Imagine a gazelle running for its life from a predator. That's the kind of singular, urgent focus he wants you to have on getting debt-free. And he really stresses celebrating each debt paid off. Those little victories, those milestones, they're critical motivators that keep you pushing forward. He also has some pretty stern warnings against just making minimum payments, which gets you nowhere fast.
Right, you barely touch the principal sometimes.
Exactly. Or trying to borrow your way out of debt with consolidation loans that don't actually fix the underlying behavior. He sees those as just pathways back to struggle.
Okay, so once you're in the thick of it, attacking that debt, getting a handle on where your money is actually going becomes non-negotiable. And Ramsey is a huge champion of what he calls a zero-based budget. For anyone who's ever sat there wondering, where did my paycheck go this month? This is a potential game changer. It means before the month even begins, every single dollar you expect to earn gets assigned a job. Whether that's for rent, groceries, debt payments, savings, even, that daily coffee, no dollars left unassigned. That's how you prevent that mysterious disappearing money act we all experience sometimes.
Yeah, and this approach ties directly into the absolute fundamental principle of living on less than you earn. You have to create a surplus. Because without that surplus, you simply can't pay off debt faster, you can't save, you can't invest. It's the foundation. Which naturally leads us to ask, okay, what does this mean in practice? It means making necessary lifestyle adjustments, maybe some sacrifices. It requires being brutally honest about where your money is currently going and then making conscious, sometimes difficult decisions to redirect it towards your actual goals.
And when it comes to the practical side of controlling spending, Ramsey has some pretty direct advice, maybe even radical for some. He literally tells you to cut up your credit cards, to stop the overspending habit cold turkey, shred them. It's almost like a ceremonial act of breaking free, isn't it?
It is. It creates that immediate physical barrier. We've all had those moments, right? Where you swipe a card and the money just feels abstract, theoretical.
Yeah, like Monopoly money sometimes.
Exactly. But with cash, using his cash envelope system for categories where you tend to overspend, think groceries, dining out, entertainment, when the cash in that specific envelope is gone, you stop spending in that category for the month. Period.
Simple. But yeah, I can see how that would be surprisingly powerful. Forces you to pause.
It forces you to pause, absolutely. It makes you distinguish between wants and needs much more clearly. And it helps you recognize those triggers for emotional spending that can sneak up on all of us. He also talks a lot about resisting lifestyle inflation, that tendency to spend more just because you start earning more. That's a huge trap.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. The golden handcuffs.
Right. And he suggests practical things like keeping a spending journal for a while just to identify where the waste is, cutting unused subscriptions. How many of us have those lingering? Negotiating your bills, watching those small, seemingly insignificant expenses. They add up. Oh, and that wait 24 hours rule for non-essential purchases. That's brilliant for just sleep on it.
Okay, so as you start putting these principles into practice, the budgeting, the cash, attacking debt, you'll inevitably bump up against some common financial pitfalls.
Yeah.
And Ramsey's got a very strong take on those, doesn't he?
Oh, absolutely. He draws some very clear lines in the sand.
Like avoiding car payments entirely. That's a big one for him.
Yeah.
Buy reliable used cars with cash, he says.
Yes, that's a cornerstone.
Yeah.
He sees car payments as just sucking away your ability to build wealth month after month.
And he's incredibly adamant about never, ever co-signing loans for others, not even family.
Never. He says it almost always damages the relationship and puts your own finances at massive risk. You become legally responsible if they don't pay. It's not just cars either. He's incredibly vocal about steering clear of things like payday loans, predatory lending at its worst.
Yeah, those interest rates are insane.
Astronomical. Also, any kind of get-rich-quick scheme. He says, look, if it sounds too good to be true, it absolutely is. Someone's getting rich, but it probably won't be you.
Right. He also emphasizes avoiding borrowing for things that just plummet in value, like, say, fancy electronics or furniture on credit.
Exactly. Depreciating assets. And watch out for high-fee financial products that just nibble away at your returns over time. Be a savvy consumer.
He also warns against some of these more modern debt traps, right? Like the buy now, pay later schemes that are everywhere now.
Yes, he sees those as just another way to encourage impulse spending and normalize debt. Same with getting cash advances on credit cards, incredibly expensive debt.
And a very firm rule, never borrow money to invest. That's leveraging risk upon risk.
Absolutely not. Too dangerous. And don't tap into your retirement funds early. The penalties and lost growth are just devastating long term.
He's also pretty cautious about refinancing or consolidating debt, isn't he? Unless it really helps you pay it off faster.
Precisely. It has to be strategic, shortening the payoff term or significantly lowering the interest rate as part of an aggressive payoff plan, not just shuffling deck chairs or lowering payments to prolong the agony.
So why does he view all these things as traps? What's the underlying reason?
Because fundamentally, they either steal your future earnings, keeping you trapped in debt cycles, or they simply erode your hard-earned wealth over time through fees and interest. His entire focus really is on building true net worth. That's your assets minus your liabilities, what you own minus what you owe. He cares far less about your credit score.
That's interesting. He sees a credit score differently.
He basically views a credit score primarily as I love debt score. It measures how good you are at borrowing money and paying it back, not necessarily how wealthy you actually are. This really challenges our common perception of good debt or what it means to be financially secure. He pushes us to define security as ownership, as freedom from payments, not just having access to more credit.
Okay, so once you've really worked through those initial, often tough steps, the budgeting, the $1K fund, eliminating all your non-mortgage debt with that gazelle intensity, Ramsey then transitions you into the actual wealth-building phase. And the very first significant step here is building a truly robust emergency fund.
Right, this is the big one. Fully funded. We're talking 3 to 6 months worth of your essential living expenses, saved in cash, easily accessible.
3 to 6 months. That sounds like a lot, but it provides real security.
It provides incredible security. Job loss, medical emergency, major home repair. This fund protects you from having to go back into debt when life happens, and life will happen.
Okay, so emergency fund is fully funded. What's next on the path to building wealth?
The next major step, baby step 4, is to start investing a significant portion of your income, 15% of your gross household income, into retirement accounts.
15%. And how does he suggest investing that?
He generally keeps it pretty simple. He often emphasizes straightforward, diversified mutual funds with good long-term track records. Think growth stock mutual funds spread across different categories. The idea is consistent, disciplined, long-term growth. He strongly advises against trying to time the market, picking individual stocks, or chasing speculative fads. Slow and steady wins the race.
Makes sense. And what about insurance? Where does that fit into protecting this growing wealth?
Insurance is critical. Baby step 7 technically covers it fully, but it's important throughout. He has very clear guidance here too. For life insurance, he strongly advocates for term life insurance. Buy coverage for a specific term, usually while you have dependents and are building wealth.
Not whole life insurance. That's often sold as an investment too.
He's very much against whole life or cash value policies, seeing them as expensive and often poor investments compared to just buying term and investing the difference yourself.
Okay. And other insurances?
Absolutely essential. Protect your assets. That means having adequate health insurance, auto insurance, homeowners or renters insurance. Long-term disability insurance is crucial too, protecting your income. These aren't exciting, but they are non-negotiable safety nets to prevent a financial disaster from completely derailing all your hard work.
Got it. So emergency fund, 15% into retirement, proper insurance. What about other long-term goals, like saving for kids' college?
Ah, yes. His priority order for long-term savings is quite firm and logical when you hear the reasoning. Baby step 5 is college funding, he says. Prioritize your retirement savings first. That 15% needs to be happening before you aggressively save for college.
Why is that? A lot of parents feel pressure to prioritize college.
His reasoning is stark, but simple. You cannot borrow money for retirement. There are no retirement loans. But your children can get scholarships, grants, or student loans for college if needed. Only after your own retirement saving is securely on track does he suggest saving for children's college, typically using tax advantage plans like 529s. It highlights a crucial point. Your future financial independence is paramount. Ensuring you don't become a financial burden on your children or society in your later years is key.
That makes sense. And the ultimate goal in his plan, the final big step.
Baby step 6. Pay off your home mortgage early. Achieve true financial freedom by owning your home outright. And related to that is buying a home you can actually afford in the first place, ideally with a substantial down payment and using a 15-year fixed-rate mortgage, not a 30-year one.
15 years really accelerates that payoff.
Dramatically. The goal is complete ownership, freedom from payments, rather than just relying on Social Security or pensions, which may or may not be sufficient in the future.
Okay, so beyond these very specific financial steps, the baby steps, Ramsey also really emphasizes the softer side, the holistic aspect.
Absolutely. It's not just about numbers. He heavily emphasizes the crucial role of open, honest communication about money, especially with your spouse if you're married. You have to be on the same team.
Getting on the same page financially is huge for relationships.
It's fundamental. He also really stresses the importance of teaching your children good money habits early on, modeling responsible financial behavior for them, involving them in age-appropriate ways, setting them up for success.
Passing on that financial literacy.
Exactly. And he connects this to the practical importance of regularly tracking your net worth. Not obsessively, but seeing your progress assets growing, liabilities shrinking is incredibly motivating. Also, using windfalls wisely. If you get a bonus, an inheritance, a tax refund, use it strategically to accelerate your goals, like paying off debt faster or boosting savings rather than just, splurging it all away.
And what about giving? Where does that fit in?
Giving is actually a core part of his philosophy. Baby step 7 is building wealth and giving. He encourages making giving a priority even while you're still on your financial journey, maybe starting small. He sees it as fostering gratitude, maintaining perspective, keeping your priorities straight, and ultimately being able to make a bigger difference once you achieve financial peace.
That's interesting. So what other sort of ongoing habits does he advocate for maintaining this financial health long term?
Well, things like creating sinking funds. These are crucial for managing those irregular but predictable expenses.
Sinking funds. Like saving for specific things.
Yeah, essentially saving a little bit each month for bigger, less frequent bills or purchases. Think car repairs, holiday gifts, vacations, property taxes, insurance premiums that come due annually or semi-annually. It prevents those big hits from wrecking your monthly budget because you've planned for them.
Smart. Takes the surprise out of it.
Totally. He also champions automating your savings and investments wherever possible. Make it happen automatically before you even have a chance to spend the money. Setting clear written financial goals is another big one. Goals you can actually visualize and track. And scheduling regular monthly financial check-ins, maybe a budget meeting with your spouse, or just time for yourself to review your budget, track progress, and make adjustments. Keep your hand on the tiller.
It sounds like building resilience is a big theme too.
Huge. These habits really reinforce the behavioral resilience aspects of his entire plan. Cultivating patience wealth building is a marathon, not a sprint. Avoiding the comparison trap, don't measure your journey against someone else's highlight reel, especially on social media. Everyone's situation is different.
That's a tough one sometimes.
It really is. Also, learning from setbacks, because they will happen. Don't let a mistake derail you. Learn from it and get back on track. It's also about proactively seeking ways to increase your income, not just cutting expenses. Avoiding unnecessary fees wherever possible. Those little leaks sink big ships over time. Keeping emotions out of financial decisions as much as possible. Fear and greed are terrible advisors. And finally, the enduring importance of continuous learning about personal finance. Stay informed, keep growing your knowledge.
So these broader life habits, they really support not just the financial success, but maybe overall peace of mind too.
Absolutely. It's a framework for intentional living that really extends far beyond just the dollars and cents. It contributes hugely to reducing financial stress and increasing overall well-being.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, it's pretty clear that Dave Ramsey presents a very specific, very structured financial journey. It really starts with that fundamental shift to your mindset, right? Yeah. Recognizing that behavior is way more important than just knowing stuff. Then it moves into, well, aggressively eliminating debt using that snowball method, building robust emergency savings for security, and then systematically investing for the long term. At its core, his plan is really about practical, disciplined steps and, crucially, consistent behavioral change. It's designed for action, not just theory.
Exactly. Ultimately, his core message seems to be that building true, lasting wealth isn't about finding some complex market timing secret or chasing risky investments or getting rich quick. Forget that. Instead, it's about intentionality. It's about consistent hard work, day in, day out. And it's about the discipline to stick to a clear step-by-step plan, even when it gets tough. It's almost like a return to financial common sense, really, focused on diligence and perseverance. And that focus truly empowers you to change your financial future if you commit to it.
So here's a final thought for you, our listener, something to really chew on, building on that behavioral emphasis we've talked so much about. If financial success truly is 80% behavior, what single habit could you change starting today that might have the most profound impact on your own financial future?
Yeah, that's a powerful question. We really encourage you to reflect on your own financial landscape where you are right now, and consider how these lessons from Ramsey, even if they challenge some of your current beliefs or feel a bit intense, might offer a clear, powerful new path forward for